Not Quite Cool is a podcast that contains spoilers, opinions, and general nonsense. Listener discretion is advised.
So much stuff you guys are talking about tonight that I'm not. I have a feast over here. I have a whole chicken. I have cheese. Good. I have chips.
Oh, shit. Whose kitchen did you raid to have all that food?
None of your business.
Okay.
Wow.
That's the most mafioso chicken dinner answer I've ever heard. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us once again. My name's Keith Brooks, and welcome back to Not Quite Cool. Here with all as always, I'm with Chad Dowdy. Chad, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Now, I want to get this off my chest right now off the bat. We talked about my office and how you guys made fun of it. And so my wife does not listen to this podcast. I mean, she would never listen to this drivel or whatever. Yeah. But I did play her, part when you guys were making fun of the small TV in the background.
Yeah.
And my wife does not cuss. I mean, maybe occasionally, but not really. But when I played this for her, you guys making fun of the TV, this was her exact response. Nobody even watches TV in there, fuckers.
That's amazing.
So you have struck a nerve with my wife.
God damn. Okay.
Keith, if you were there, you would get what Chad calls, and it's the first time I ever heard it called this when I met Chad, was you would get from Stephanie a talking to. I never heard the phrase "a talking to" until I was EBS from Chad. He goes, "Oh, she would have given him a talking to," and I was like, "A what? A talking to?"
You don't want to talk to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was like, I get it. That is clear as day. A Stephanie Dowdy talking to.
Yeah, she's not happy with you guys.
Oh, God.
I'm surprised she's even letting me record tonight.
I thought the room looked great.
I think the Funko Pops are really adding to it. I see you got a Norman Bates down there. That looks cool. There's a Carrie. I see a Freddy, Michael Myers, who we're going to be discussing later on in the evening. But speaking of Joy Kills, we also have Rob Prago here on the podcast with us to eat chicken loudly in the microphone. Rob, how you doing?
That's Joy Behar to you, not Joy Kills. Thank you very much. I don't know what that means.
Joy barely hard is more.
We're both Jewish. I don't know.
Okay, that's good.
All's good. I got. So let me tell you a little bit about this chicken. I've decided to not go food shopping for a while and just either watch Keith's dogs and eat his steaks, or just eat through what has accumulated in my cabinets and my freezer over the past couple of years, and slowly working my way through. And I found a bag. Actually, it was double bagged. And all it said on the outside was chicken. and I couldn't, it was so frostburnt. I couldn't tell if it was chicken, if it was a Dahmer victim. I don't know. And I defrosted it. It was shaped like a chicken. I threw it in the air fryer. And now I'm currently eating it. So
it's just burnt. It looks like a basketball that was set on fire.
I named it Burt Reynolds, and I'm going to eat it.
Terrible.
Thank you very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this is the first time in history that you're going to hear someone die on a podcast because Rob has poisoned himself.
That's got to have happened before. People have had.
We're going to be huge, Keith, when this happens.
This is
going to be awesome.
Eat it up, Rob. Eat it up.
Don't even cut this out. It's going to be awesome when Rob dies during the podcast.
Absolutely.
It's going to do wonders for our careers.
But if you start to have an allergic reaction, you need to talk us through everything that's happening. When your stomach begins to explode, announce it, tell us how you feel, all that jazz, so we can document it piece by piece. But other than that, we're going to get into a shit ton of things that we've been watching. It's been probably 9 weeks since we recorded a podcast last, so we have a lot of shows, a lot of movies. We're going to skip the trailers. Chad and I are doing a 31 for 31 challenge, watching 31 scary movies throughout the month of October. We're going to cover that on the...
I thought that was a Baskin Robbins challenge where you guys are eating 31 flavors.
That's Robert Prago, ladies and gentlemen. We're playing the Catskills, not at the actual clubs.
Waka, waka, waka.
He's made like 5 jokes so far. Not one of them has landed.
No.
Not one.
I feel like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Hey, it's awesome.
So in the 900 things that we've watched, Rob's watched 2. So we're gonna pair those, one at the beginning and one at the end. So Rob has to stick around. So we're gonna go ahead and kick off this in a strong way. We're gonna talk about the reason that everybody's here, obviously, to hear our takes on the MCU's hit television series, She-Hulk Attorney at Law. So She-Hulk has now ended. All of us have watched all of the episodes, the season finale and all that. Chad, what did you think about the finale? Did it, unlike Rob's humor, land for you? And what do you think about the show as a whole?
Well, so the show as a whole, I really appreciate the series. I think that they've taken some big swings. It's very different, obviously. It's from any of the other MCU stuff. Sometimes they hit a home run with it. Sometimes they strike out. It's not perfect by any means, but I appreciate what they tried to do, with the series. The last episode I loved. I love that last episode. I've said it before on this podcast more than once. My favorite She-Hulk is Sensational She-Hulk. That's what kind of that is. In the comics, there's a scene where in Sensational She-Hulk where she wants to get out of the room or something. So she rips through the page and she walks through an ad. When you turn the page, it's an ad for, whatever, Nintendo game or something from back in the day. And she's just walking through the ad, rips that page, and then she's through to the other scene. So very much like kind of what she did in this a little bit. So, I thought that was really cool. I really thought that we were going to see Kevin Feige. I was like, they're really going to have a conversation with Kevin Feige here. I was disappointed we didn't after thinking we were going to see Kevin Feige. But I really loved it. My favorite episode, though, was the Daredevil episode. Probably everybody's favorite. I mean, it's Daredevil. He was great in it. That was more of a straightforward episode, than all the others. But I just loved that last episode. I loved her conversation with Kevin. She was asking about the X-Men, one of the X-Men coming, and then she looks at us and smiles. I love stuff like that. It's not just Sensational She-Hulk. In Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic had a conversation with Stan and Jack more than once. So I like the idea. I like what they did with it. I hope there's a season 2. But that last episode, I really liked it.
Yeah, awesome. Rob, how did you feel about it?
I don't necessarily need a season 2, but I do want to see her character. She's such a great actor. I mean, she's such a dynamite actor. But I do want to see her desperately in other character stories. I want to see her jump to Daredevil story, but I want to see her on the big screen. I want to see her in the movies. I think she's such a strong character, a strong actor. I just love the character itself. This is going to sound like a really weird comparison. At times, this show reminded me of. I'm going to show my age. You guys remember Alf?
Yeah, no, that one's not as bad as some other stuff you say. Yeah.
What I loved the character of Alf, and I hated the freaking show. And I used to wish that Alf could jump into other shows. And a very happy day of mine was when Alf was the center square on the Hollywood Squares. Hysterical. He dealt with other things in the real world. I loved her character. It was such an uneven show. It was so strange. There were the episode 1 and 7, 8, and 9, I felt had vision. I felt there was a method to the madness. It was well handled. It was well directed. Episodes 2, 3, 4, 5, part of 6, I felt like they were throwing just shit against the wall and seeing what would stick. It was jumping around. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to me felt like there were a lot of hands in the pie. There was a lot of panicking. I think they were so dead on throughout the season, discussing what the fans were actually saying at the time, that I felt like they were sort of going in and commenting on what was actually happening in the previous couple of weeks. Where a lot of series, they're 4, 5, 6 episodes ahead when they start airing and they're still shooting. Where I felt like as they were shooting, they were adding things to shows that were going to air a week earlier, 2 weeks earlier, 3 weeks earlier. It felt messy and sloppy, but then at times it felt sharp. I don't. Which episode was it when she wakes up? Was it after the Josh one and she's walking through the apartment and she's sort of dissolving from one location to the next?
Episode 7.
Yeah, that episode was phenomenal. It was so good and strong, and it had vision, and there was a sense of there's just again real sense of direction in it. They had a plan to them. I loved the final episode. I loved where it went. I loved what it did. Because again, I think I was like a lot of people. I was like, this fucking guy is Hulk. How can they write something so poorly that it's so clear where it's going that there's no aversion to it? And I was like, why is she here? And why is and when she's saying these things, I'm like, all right, where are we going? And of course, I'm thinking the whole thing's rushed, and I'm like, they had to rush it. They only had half an episode to basically show us an episode. And then she says, fuck this episode, and jumps into our world. And it was great. It was a really fun, and the transition was awesome. You go silent, you show the Disney Plus screen. And I'm sure there were a couple people who went, what the hell is going on with my TV? A lot like The Sopranos ending. And it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. The music choices, the fight scenes. My favorite episode was the Daredevil episode. I think they did a great job. That episode, I'm sure it had many purposes, specifically to say, hey, we know what we're doing with Daredevil.
Yeah.
That Charlie Cox is still that character. You're going to see him. You get to see him tell jokes. You get to see him flirt. You get to see him be suave. You also get to see him in a hallway. We know what we're doing here. He's cool. And it was awesome. And he did a great job of fooling us into thinking he was only in one episode. Because he says that they did a great job behind the scenes of letting that be a surprise in the final episode.
Yeah.
That was nice. It was good. It's enjoyable. Marvel to me is like pizza. The worst pizza I ever had, I still pretty much enjoyed.
It's still good pizza.
Yeah. Still pizza.
I think, well, first of all, let me say, if you wish that Alf would cross over with other things, let me tell you about Alf Tonight, or whatever the talk show was that he hosted. And
that's right. I remember. That's right. I remember that. I totally forgot about that.
And then Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue. That Alf was prominent in that as well, teaching us not to do drugs back in the day. I did not
know that.
He also had a comic book, X-Men.
Yeah.
X-Men comic book, where him and I guess some of his other alien people were characters from the X-Men.
Yeah. So there you go.
I want that comic book.
The X-Mailmen, if I.
Oh my God! Yeah. No, Alf. He was from the planet Melman. Yeah.
No. So your wish has come true out there.
You just didn't know about it.
I was just unaware.
And especially compared to your other analogies that you use. Hey, do you guys remember when Jack Benny was hosting the USO tour? No, Rob, we don't. To me, I thought the show, sit down, dear listeners, because this might shock you. I disagree with a lot of what Rob said. I think the show from beginning to end was perfect. I really loved it. I had a blast. I do think 7, 8, and 9 were the best episodes. I think episode 7 is my favorite Marvel episode of any television show they've ever done. That's the when they go to Blonsky's place, right? All of that.
Very funny.
Yeah. I thought that episode was just wonderfully directed, just brilliantly done. And again, that last episode, sort of to echo what Chad said, it is the most comic accurate we've ever gotten from any of these characters. That felt like She-Hulk in spirit so much. And her delivery of the line, sometimes Hulk smash, Bruce does buildings, I do fourth walls, and sometimes Matt Murdock. That delivery alone, she should win an award. And the ending with Kevin, I love that that's now the canon of what the real world Kevin Feige is a robot. That's awesome to me. And it reminds me of the Spider-Man the Animated Series finale when Peter goes and he finds Stan Lee to help him go find Mary Jane. That breaking the fourth wall, making it feel more I don't know, commentative about stuff. And especially with this one, we don't have to follow the formula that everybody else does. We can have our own version of a pitch perfect ending. Daredevil dropping from the sky magically, that embodies that, And I hope there is a season 2. Scar needs to get his haircut fixed. Definitely.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
That was weird.
What they were even going for. I just felt like, did they have an actor that when he's going to look human, that's the way he normally looks? It's like, it made no sense to me.
Well, the actor doesn't look like that.
No, at all. At all.
But I think they're going for more of like a tribal warrior thing. But it just looks weird, to be honest. But I thought that the standoffishness nature that Scar had, that was great. I'm excited to see where Blonsky shows up next. We had Wong, take him somewhere. And it also leads into, a bit of Marvel news that we've had this week, that Harrison Ford has been confirmed as Thunderbolt Ross.
That's amazing. That's just incredible.
Yeah.
It really is.
At least in Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts. And
Awesome.
the rumor of 2 casting pieces, that Sacha Baron Cohen is going to be an Ironheart.
Mephisto. Fucking be Mephisto.
Believed to be Mephisto.
Yeah, we've said Mephisto since day one of this podcast.
But he's so perfect casting for Mephisto. I mean, I agree. Yeah. I mean, perfect.
And then the rumor about Wonder Man, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, to be Wonder Man, which I think is a phenomenal casting. I've never seen him do comedy, but I believe he can do it. I believe he can do fucking anything. He's phenomenal. But yeah, I think ultimately She-Hulk was a great addition to the MCU canon, and I can't wait to see what they do with it next.
I agree.
I can't wait till they give her something to do so they can redeem episodes 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, so I'm glad Rob brought up some bullshit. Let's talk about some other bullshit that we watched. Chad and I watched a film adaptation of a television series, a remake, reboot, prequel sort of thing. I think Rob might have watched 6 minutes of it or something like that. Chad at least joked that he had.
I tried, man.
But that is Rob Zombie's The Munsters, brought to you on Netflix, starring Sherry Moon Zombie and who gives a fuck. Chad, what did you think about The Munsters?
This is like, wow. Where to start on this one? So I'm going to say right off the bat, it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Same here. Agreed completely.
However, I thought it was going to be the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life. So I had nowhere to go.
The bar was set low.
Yeah, I really thought, based on the trailer, this is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And it wasn't great, but it was not as bad. I think it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be because I actually enjoyed Herman. I thought that was pretty good. The guy who played Herman, I thought he was funny. He was okay. But at the end of the day, to me, this was not even a movie. And I say that because movies have certain structure, and I didn't see any of that in this movie. There was no conflict of any sort. If there was, it was resolved immediately, like in the next scene.
Yeah.
There was nothing overall that was going on. It was tough. I felt like a 7-year-old wrote this. I really did, because, hey, I don't know how we're going to get money. Oh, well, I'll just get a job here. And that's exactly how everything.
And win a contest immediately. Like, it's so weird.
Yeah, you win a contest. You win in Vegas. Like, everything is just so easy. At the beginning of the movie, ish, Rob, I know you didn't get this far, but Grandpa doesn't want Lily to get with Herman. So he's like, they're over my dead body. They're going to get married. He tries one thing, and now he's on board. Throughout the rest of the movie, Herman's the man of the house and the boss. There was nothing. There was no conflict whatsoever.
Even there's a minuscule conflict where Herman betrays everybody, resolved in 2 seconds.
Everything. Yes. And legitimately, I don't know if you're going to believe this, but I really thought this. Once they're in the house after the party, I thought to myself, okay, now we're going to get to like the conflict and see what the story's about. And I paused it and I was like, oh shit, there's only 8 minutes left. What?
Yeah.
Like, nothing happened in this quote movie. It was wild.
It just, to me, it felt like a pilot, like a poorly constructed pilot, but still a pilot. Like, by the time we ended, it was oh, I guess this is where the show's supposed to start and we go from here. It felt more like the Halloween presentations that Werewolf by Night was trying to sort of riff off of than a movie. Like, to me, I agree with you that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and I could see how people would enjoy it. I'm just not necessarily the person that would enjoy it. There were moments where I thought everybody did fine in the film. I thought Sherry Moon was fine. I thought Grandpa was great. I thought and I guess in this he's not Grandpa, he's just the Count. But I thought I thought Herman was great. The only person I didn't really like was Hurley from Lost. I thought he was just off like the entire time.
They shouldn't have started the movie with him either. I mean, I literally got 6.5, 7 minutes in. I felt like I was watching back in the 70s and 80s, network TV always trotted out a lot of different quote unquote B celebs to have their own variety show.
Yeah.
And they all sucked and they all failed. And I remember being a kid watching for 7 minutes and going, this isn't funny or good, and walking away. It's exactly how I felt. It was almost like they were trying to be funny and joking. I'm like, this is the worst thing. I'm not watching this. I'll add to Chad's definition of it wasn't a movie, because a movie, I sit down and I watch for 90 minutes to 2 hours. This, I stared at, it made no sense, and I turned off.
Yeah,
so not a movie.
It felt like it was going for very kitschy stuff, and the type of humor was, if the coffin's knocking or rocking, don't come knocking. I wouldn't be surprised at any point if animated mice started rapping. Like, that's what I felt like the entire time. You know what I mean? And so, again, not as bad as I thought, but not good to me. I could see if you're but again, I'm not a Munsters fan to begin with, so it doesn't really feel as off the mark as I thought it might be. It feels like the Munsters, but just not good still. But that's my take.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly right. I mean, it kind of feels like the Munsters, but not as good. To your point about Hurley from Lost, much like a lot of this stuff, somebody just shows up and they're in it for a very small amount of time, and you think they're going to play a larger role, and then they're just forgotten about entirely. We never go back. We never talk about them again. It's just weird.
Yeah. So it's a wild story that they're trying to convey on screen, but some movies have a wild story surrounding their making and their publicity, and that's the case with our next feature film that we're going to be discussing, and that's something that you shouldn't worry about because we're going to talk about it. That's Don't Worry, Darling, directed by Olivia Wilde, starring Harry Styles, Chris Pine, Florence Pugh, the amazing Florence Pugh, Nick Kroll, and Gemma Chan. Chad, what did you think about Don't Worry, Darling?
Like you said, the behind the scenes stuff is probably better. Not probably. It's almost better than the stuff that happened on screen. Yeah. It's more interesting anyway. Yeah. The script is a mess. There is so much. I feel like it needed a page one rewrite, like for sure, because when all is revealed, all I can think of, it brought up so many questions, but mainly the question that it brought up was, well, then if that's the case, why did they do that then?
What the fuck is the airplane? Yeah. If that's the case, what the fuck was the airplane? You know what I mean? Like,
what's the airplane? And if it is, like, Rob, we're going to spoil it here. Like, if it's like a simulation or whatever, they just have guys in red jumpsuits that just show up out of nowhere, but they don't have them guarding the place that could ruin the whole thing. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And why when what's his face? Harry Styles, when it reveals that he becomes a part of this, and they said, we see you've chosen blah, blah, blah. She's your wife, da, 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 da. It's your responsibility. Why didn't they just take people that were like Olivia Wilde and her husband that just wanted to be there? Why did it have to be, craziness where you're going to kidnap somebody and bring them in that's going to try to get out of the whole thing? A lot of it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like lot of stuff.
I think that is her. I think she threads this needle of trying to point out the Jordan Peterson type of incel sort of people, and that part of it, Harry Styles no longer being with Florence Pugh in the real world, but forcing her into this, is a plot point that I think is lost on a lot of people. I think a lot of people miss the fact that they're not together in the real world anymore because she's so brainwashed in the actual thing. But I think it drives home that desperate man who just wants to be in control sort of attitude, which is then like sort of negated by the fact that Olivia Wilde is the one who selects to be in there. And then whatever the fuck happens with Gemma Chan's character, I like, to me, the first reveal of the fact that it's modern times, you could see that coming a mile away.
Yes.
I didn't see the simulation thing coming, so that was neat. But then I also didn't see, I don't know why she had to get to that one point to get out, and then they couldn't stop her when before they had to open the gates for everybody else to leave. And yeah.
Just like I said, a lot of issues across the board. A couple of things that I did like was obviously Florence Pugh. I thought she was great in it.
Yeah.
Chris Pine, the dinner table scene between her and Chris Pine and her is awesome.
Yeah.
Chris Pine is like eating this up. You know, I love how he's just like, he's wind up all the toys and he's just watching them play out and he's enjoying every minute of it. And I loved Chris Pine in that scene. I thought it was incredible.
Yep.
How he played that scene. Then later though, the scene in the car where Florence Pugh and Harry Styles are trying to go away. Harry Styles was fine as an actor.
Yeah.
That scene, I felt he did not live up to Florence Pugh in that scene. I thought she was killing it.
Absolutely.
And he, to me, did not live up to it. And again, back to the behind the scenes stuff that we talked about. When it was originally going to be Shia LaBeouf, regardless of what you say about Shia LaBeouf and, you know, his real life, I think he's a great actor.
Yeah.
And I think he would have killed in that scene.
Yeah.
Opposite Florence Pugh, where Harry Styles was not up to the test to me.
But in my opinion, I think Harry Styles did fine. I don't think he was phenomenal, but I think he surprised me at some of the stuff he did pull off. And I see why, to me, he works in the movie because he does come off as weak in that sense. I was shocked when he later does the American accent because I kind of figured the entire British accent was like, he can't do the American accent. That's why he's doing that. But then that sort of turn happened. The scene that I really liked of him was the tap dance routine, because that was so demeaning that he had to do that and be the monkey that danced for everyone, and Chris Pine just relishing in it. But even the small moments I like are that the dinner scene when Gemma Chan, who has like 3 lines the entire fucking movie, I don't understand that, but when she snaps at Florence Pugh, it was so like sharp and precise and just like, is she a computer software? Is she the OS? Is she a real person? Like, I have so many more questions about her character now. But ultimately, I think the movie has an idea, but doesn't explore that idea to all of its potential. And everything that happens in the last 5 minutes. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about it.
So the twist is the same as The Village. They're just modern. It's in modern time. So
it's also it's a computer program.
There's like the Matrix too. They're all in a computer.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That's
with like a little Clockwork Orange thing, and then part of it too is that Florence Pugh has been kidnapped. That she used to be in a relationship with Harry Styles. It broke up, and he's like bashed her head in and drug her into this nasty apartment and hooked her up to this. Yeah. No. Wow. So it's a living hell. But speaking of hell and how we raise it, let's talk about a Hulu original directed by Atlanta's own David Bruckner. And that is this reboot, the next installation of the Hellraiser series by Clive Barker.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
So Hulu's Hellraiser. Now we're seeing the Hell Priestess, a female version of Pinhead, the leader of the Cenobites. Chad, what did you think about this, I believe, 11th installment in the Hellraiser franchise?
It's something huge like that for sure. Big number. Keith, I am sure that you're about to speak about how the ancient Sumerians had this box.
Absolutely.
And how they really did it.
The lament configuration. Yep.
Exactly. So I'm going to let you talk about all that stuff. Look, I'm not really a fan of the Hellraiser series in general.
Yep.
Pinhead looks cool.
Yep.
This Pinhead looks cool. I understand Pinhead's place as a horror icon. I've got Pinhead as a pop back there. I'm not a fan of the Hellraiser movie, but it's Pinhead, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me that it's a female Pinhead. She looked cool. I think, to me, the best part of the movie was the way they looked. The bad guys that looked awesome. The makeup, the effects, they looked incredible. I love them. I'm just not like a fan of this story and this stuff in general. Like I'm not really feeling it. And I wasn't really digging the lead either.
Me either.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know it's like cliche to say, well, it's hard to, give me somebody to root for. And I didn't really root for her or whatever, but yeah, I just wasn't a fan of hers. And I wasn't a fan of the story, but again, I get it. I know people will like this. It's Hellraiser, I'm not offended by the fact that it's a female Hellraiser. It looks pretty cool. And I think, again, you probably could speak to this more. The original Pinhead in the books was androgynous anyway, I thought. So it doesn't.
I mean, the original one's female, like straight up.
Okay.
So, but, to me, I own all the Hellraiser movies. I'm not the biggest fan of the franchise collectively.
You own all the Hellraiser movies. I'm not the biggest fan.
Yeah, but
it's like crappy ones. I mean,
there are bad ones. Hellraiser is one of the franchises that starts strong, and Jesus Christ, by the time we get to the found footage one, it's rough. But I have followed all of the franchise. I know Doug Bradley personally, the guy who played the original Pinhead. I know Nicholas Vince, who played the original Chatterer. I've worked with both of those guys. And David Bruckner. I've worked with him, the director of this new one. So I think Bruckner is really great about these slow burn horror movies. He has a really good eye for that. And most Hellraiser movies have a slow burn to them. My thing with this one is it doesn't feel like a Hellraiser movie until the female Pinhead shows up. And when Pinhead shows up, which is about halfway through, now it feels like Hellraiser. And the imagery becomes what we want, that Lovecraftian, Clive Barker-ish sort of tone. And it has some great moments, some cool ideas. But again, to me, the thing that's missing is all of the Hellraiser movies have a forbidden sexuality about them. There is something taboo. The first movie is about incest. Like, it's all over that thing. It's about sleeping with your brother-in-law and then your uncle trying to fuck you and all this, terrible things. So every single one of the movies has that taboo nature to it that makes it feel dirty. And this doesn't feel dirty to me. And because of that, so much of the lament configuration, or in this one, the configuration, it has different parts. So they're changing some of the mythos there. But so much of Hellraiser is contained within that realm of the forbidden fruit that I don't get enough of it here. It feels too clean for me. And I get maybe the main antagonist, his whole pursuit of knowledge is supposed to be the forbidden thing. It just, to me, it doesn't feel Hellraiser enough, I think if you make an 80s slasher flick, there has to be an element of sex appeal and there has to be some tongue-in-cheekness. That defines that genre, right? And this, I feel, misses somewhat the things that define the genre, that define this type of movie. Does it make it a bad movie? No, by no means. I still enjoyed myself. I thought Pinhead was phenomenal, though I think Gemma Chan would be a great fucking Pinhead, but that's just neither here nor there. But I thought all the Cenobites, the reinvention of that, I thought the way Bruckner shot the real world melting into the Labyrinth and Leviathan world, that was
awesome.
I think he improved upon the original franchise in those moments. But like, to me, it's just missing that je ne sais quoi of Hellraiser. Well, I shouldn't say je ne sais quoi because I know what it is. Dirty sex. It's missing the dirty sex of Hellraiser. But I still enjoyed it. And if you did a second one, I would love to see where they progress with it, right? But it just didn't have that magic for me. But you know what has a lot of magic? Disney Plus's Hocus Pocus 2, starring all of the Hocus Pocus ladies: Bette Midler, Catherine Jamie, Sarah Jessica Parker, Doug Jones, Sam Richardson, a lot of amazing people, a cat. Chad and I watched Hocus Pocus 2 because we're the cool kids on the podcast, and Rob's just there wiping raw chicken off his face. Chad, what do you think about Hocus Pocus 2?
Well, Rob's never going to watch that because it's certainly kids will enjoy it. He's definitely against that.
I'm the least mature person on the podcast. I like stuff that kids like. That's crazy, Tom. I'll get there. We'll
see. But I'm kind of going to talk out of two sides of my mouth here because I'm not a fan of the first one. It's too kiddie for me.
Yeah.
And this one is maybe not as kiddie as the first one, but it's still
kiddie.
Yeah, it's still kiddie. I'm sure if you're a fan of the first one, you really like it. You'll probably like this. I mean, all three of the Sanderson sisters are back. It's some of the same beats and stuff like that. So I think you might like it if you like the original. But overall, it's whatever. It is what it is. I wasn't a big fan. I did enjoy Tony Hale. I thought he was
he was great.
Really good. Yeah, I was a fan of what he was doing. I thought it was kind of cool that we had a backstory where the Sanderson sisters were, kids. I like that. And I like the kids better this time too than the first one.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a man. It is what it is. I feel like though they accomplished what they tried to do.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of the first one either, but I really enjoyed the shit out of my viewing experience for this one. I thought the leads were great. Bette Midler is a phenomenon. Watching her perform in this movie is so much fun because you can tell just how much she's enjoying herself. And again, people that I know, Doug and Sam, have a bunch of scenes together, and that was really fun for me to watch them playing off each other and all the stuff they were doing. There's a post-credits scene in this movie that's kind of dumb. It's just a cat goes by another candle, the end. So that was stupid. But everything else I enjoyed. I had a fun time with it. I'm glad I got to stream it. I'm glad I didn't have to pay for it in theaters. But talking about streaming though, Chad watched a Shudder original that we're going to talk about real quick. It's called Deadstream. I haven't watched this yet, but Chad, talk to me about Deadstream.
Yeah, so Deadstream, it's about a canceled YouTuber, and everything that we're seeing is just a YouTube video. So it's basically a lot of first person perspective, stuff like that, but he's been canceled. So he's trying to get his viewers back up and his followers back up. And what he usually does with his stream is he does like dangerous stuff. He'll go, dive off a cliff or bungee jump or things like that. But this one happens to be he's going to stay in a haunted house because he said he'd never do that. So he's trying to get viewers back to stay in a haunted house. But it's very clever. I really thought that it's just one guy the entire movie. There's a little bit of other people every once in a while, that he might run into, but it's mostly just this one guy carrying the entire movie. And I think he did a great job of it. Much like it's a YouTube live video. So there's questions on the right-hand side, and sometimes he'll interact with, questions and things like that. And that's how he's doing some of the stuff. But it had some Evil Dead vibes in the haunted house.
Oh, that's awesome.
Some crazy stuff. It's definitely shot on a budget, but because of the format, you don't feel that it's cheap ever at all. Because he's just awesome. At a rundown house, and his video is like, he set up cameras in the thing, like Paranormal Activity, and then it's just a live YouTube feed for the night. But there's a great thing at the very beginning. It says at the beginning, like on October 13th, YouTuber so-and-so went into the blah, blah, blah haunted house. He was never heard from again. And he backs up and he's holding up a t-shirt. And that's what the t-shirt said. And he goes, hey guys, get this t-shirt on my website, like and subscribe, And I was like, that's great. That is so funny that his t-shirt is just about him. He's going missing after tonight or whatever. So it's a horror comedy. But it's really more like horror than comedy. There's some funny stuff to it. But I think it worked. It's worth checking out on Shudder for sure.
Cool. It's a good concept. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of Shudder originals are just absolutely fantastic. And speaking of that, I'm going to talk about a film that I saw. The English title of it is Dark Glasses, but the actual original title is Occhiali Neri. It is the newest film from Dario Argento, his first film in 10 years. And it's the most straightforward Dario Argento film I think I've ever seen, because like if you've watched one Dario film, you've seen pretty much all of them, almost all of them. It's either about a witch or about a serial killer. That's all he does. And if he does
too, don't forget eyeballs.
Yeah, definitely eyeballs. Well, it's funny you say that. So all of his serial killer, his Giallo movies are, it's a serial killer, but there's something weird, fucked up about our main protagonist, right? And in this one, she's a prostitute who the serial killer is targeting sex workers, and in pursuit of her, he causes her to wreck her car, which severs part of her cortex, and she goes permanently blind. But in that car accident, she decapitates a family with her car, and leaves a child left behind, a small 7-year-old Chinese child. She kills his parents, and he's the only survivor. But then through a series of events, she winds up having custody of the 7-year-old child, and he becomes her seeing eyes, right? But the serial killer is still after her. So for the vast majority of the movie, we're trying to get her acclimated to this new world of blindness while she's being pursued by a madman. And so, I don't think Argento is necessarily on the same scale as Scorsese, but he plays in this sort of like unnatural world where things are just very heightened, and we're not worried about realism. At one point, they're going through like a river trying to get away from this killer, and they get into a snake bed, and snakes just start crawling through their nose and up their neck, and it's like just meant to be that fear-inducing thing. It's weird. It's not played for realism, but it's meant to be, ephemeral, right? So this one, but other than that, I watched an Argento movie earlier this week where a lady could hear paintings. And so this doesn't do anything like that. This is pretty straightforward. And I think like the guy's like 96 years old, and he's still, this is his first movie in 10 years. And he came in, and he it's a competent film. There are those moments where you see the beautiful tableaus that he used to construct. And it's almost like that scene in Hook where it's like, there you are, Peter, I found you. Like you find that every now and then. But yeah, it's an entertaining movie. If you want to read some subtitles, see a blind chick naked a lot, there you go. Go watch that. Dark Glasses. That's available on Shudder. And I think it's a good addition to anybody's horror catalog. Now, speaking of horror catalogs, let's go ahead and talk about what happened on Peacock. David Gordon Green has released his third, fingers crossed, final Halloween installment, starring Jamie Lee Curtis and some dude with big lips, called Halloween Ends. I'm not going to say it stars Michael Myers because he's more like a cameo. Chad, what did you think about Halloween Ends?
First of all, I'm shocked that Keith is clearly going to badmouth this movie when he already gave away that Michael Myers is barely in the movie. Remember, Rob, how much Keith loves Halloween 3?
Well,
without Michael Myers.
Well, then
good point.
Let me go first. Okay.
Wait, before you go, I just want to know: Evil didn't die tonight. Did love live today, Keith?
That would have been so much better of a tagline. No, all these bitches are crazy. If this movie would have come out in 1988, it would have been perfect. Like, I think this is better than the 2018 Halloween. It's better than Halloween Kills. It's a more interesting story by fucking far. But if it's called Halloween Ends and you're setting it up, like initially when they announced this trilogy, it was all supposed to take place over one night. Why the fuck are we now years down the road? You know what I mean? And like, this doesn't feel like the culmination of the story you were telling me before. This feels like a completely different direction. Don't get me wrong. I actually enjoy it. But at the same time, it's not as good as it could be. If you gave me another draft on this could be great. But it's not Halloween Ends. It should be Halloween 5 or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's my feeling. We'll talk about it more, but go ahead. Let me hear what you think.
So I'm going to echo just a lot of what you said, because I kind of, much like She-Hulk, I appreciate what they were trying to do in this one. I don't feel that they succeeded.
Yeah,
totally. But it shouldn't have been Halloween Ends. Absolutely. But that being said, it was kind of like Halloween 3.
Yeah.
If this is his third Halloween, it's Halloween 3. I know the font is Halloween 3 font. So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool or whatever. And I'd like the idea that Michael's just in the background and this town is crazy. I really like those themes and I like them exploring that.
Yeah.
But again, it's Halloween Ends. It's the last one with Jamie Lee Curtis. Maybe, probably, most definitely. This is almost should be the middle one. Halloween Kills, maybe.
Yes.
That would have been
absolutely
pretty good. But what I thought they were doing with this, and I actually thought it very, very early, probably at the Halloween party, that Corey was going to be the new Michael Myers.
Yeah.
I thought that. But as soon as I had that thought, I was like, oh yeah, Corey killed the kid at the beginning, just like the original Halloween. He's definitely going to be Michael Myers.
But it's almost the inverse, though. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I totally agree. Like, from the beginning, I got Friday the 13th Part 4 vibes, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. It would make sense because Halloween, they kind of flirted with this idea with, what's her name, Jamie? Was that the kid's name?
Yeah, Danielle Harris.
Yeah, gorgeous ass little Danielle Harris. But yeah, they kind of flirted with it in those movies, and this feels like a bigger commitment to it, but it just feels misplaced. Don't get me wrong, I think this is the best filmmaking that David Gordon Green has ever done. Those scenes when they're on the motorcycle and you see. And Rob is confused because he doesn't know what Zoom. He doesn't know what Zoom is. Rob, we have a podcast. No, so in this movie, this teenager accidentally kills a kid. The town turns on him. They think he's a monster. They start treating him like one until he becomes one. And he finds Michael Myers, and kind of Michael Myers becomes his mentor and teaching him how to kill people. I thought there was going to be a twist where, like, we're seeing Michael run people through, but then we cut to a different angle and Michael's not there. It's just Corey, like that sort of vibe.
Right.
But seeing the granddaughter on the back of the motorcycle with those neon lights hitting their face while they're driving, like that felt like Twin Peaks. I was totally down with that. That was great. I just think the placement, the rush of the script, all of that does a disservice to it. Where if this would have been Halloween Kills, it would have knocked it out of the park. But being Halloween Ends, you didn't give us what we wanted or what you told us you were going to give us,
Right. Yeah. And but when I thought it was going to be him too, and it's Halloween Ends, I thought, well then, okay, now I know what they're doing. What they're going to do is they're going to kill Michael and Jamie. I thought Jamie would die too. They're going to kill him, but Corey's still going to be out there.
Yeah.
Corey will be the new guy in the mask. And you can make other Halloween movies. It's just not Michael Myers. It's Corey, whatever, wearing the Michael Myers mask.
Yeah.
And you can keep going with it and do whatever you want. But the fact that he died the way that he died, obviously takes that off the table or whatever.
Yeah.
They can do anything, obviously. But I really thought at the end, like, show the house and show that Corey's not there. Like the original Halloween.
Yeah.
When Loomis looks over the edge, Michael's gone. Just do that. Play that music. Let's go.
Yeah. Especially like they adapted the theme to be a new, like Corey had his own theme, which was interesting. Corey's style of killing was so different than Michael's. That blowtorch scene, god damn.
Yeah.
But
my favorite scene though, and I love this, I really do, was the scene when Corey goes to the doctor's house and he's killing the doctor. And the girl runs from him and she's in the house and Corey's banging on the window. And then Michael comes in from the other side. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah,
they were like,
absolutely.
Hey, that was incredible.
Yeah.
I really love that.
It's really Halloween via Scream. You know what I mean? Like that sort of the vibe, which I know that's H2O. I literally just described H2O, but whatever.
Halloween H2O is Scream. You're right.
Oh, look at that puppy. Rob has a puppy on his screen. It's not Rob. We're not talking about Rob.
Stashi, the Stashinator.
But speaking of canine characters, let's go to another MCU installment that we've had, a Halloween special presentation.
Oh, yes.
Starring Gael Garcia Bernal. This is, of course, Werewolf by Night. Chad, what did you think about this first outing for Jack Russell and his sidekick, Ted?
Yeah, like this, it was a nice homage to the Universal Monster movies. I like that the werewolf looked like, Lon Chaney werewolf, and not necessarily, howling werewolf. That's big, huge monsters. So, I kind of dug that. It's very violent and bloody, you know, the fact that it's black and white is what saves it, you know, from being what it is on, you know, Disney Plus, but it is extremely violent as far as that goes. I don't know why though they didn't have Bloodstone in a big duster or a big ponytail. I was like, I don't understand, you know, make her look a little more like that. But I tell you what she looked like though. She looked like a cross between Kristen Ritter and Comer. What I can't remember her first name.
Jodie Comer.
Yeah, that's what she looked like. I dug it. I loved the mood. I liked all of it. I know that there is issues we've heard with Mahershala Ali and Blade, director, writing, things like that. But I can't believe that we didn't have, at least in a stinger, a Blade or mention of Blade with all those, you know, monster hunters there, a mention of Blade. And if we're not going to have Blade, give us Dracula. I can't believe that we didn't have something like that. I was disappointed that the stinger didn't give me anything.
Was there a stinger? Yeah.
That's what I mean. There wasn't a stinger is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Because I was waiting. I was like, oh, is the stinger going to have Dracula in it if it's not Blade or whatever? And Dracula could be a big casting thing. You know, I mean, it could be Denzel. You know, they've been talking to him or whatever. And I know, but I was a little disappointed in that. But I can't believe they just didn't at least mention Blade.
Yeah. Rob, what did you think about Werewolf by Night?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Just to piggyback on that, you know, there's been a lot of comments recently about the troubles that Blade has been having, the show, and the release of the director for whatever the purpose was, and rumors that Mahershala is not pleased. I'm wondering, as you know, as it feels like all these shows are on the fly, and that from moment to moment they're being tweaked or added or not added. I'm wondering if it's so iffy if Mahershala will remain as part of this if they just decided not to include that, even if they shot something. If they, you know, I hate to think that, but you know, we will see. I really enjoyed, you know, there's a lot of Marvel content, you know, and we seem to get wrapped up and we have these series to watch. And though I enjoy watching these series for the most part, it's almost like an addiction. We almost feel like, oh God, we have 9 episodes to watch. We have the fact that it was just a one-off. It was like this, it was easy. It was a relief. And you know, they talk about how, you know, each movie or series, they try to do something a little different. Well, this was so clearly different. Yeah. Vibe, tone, that it really was sort of like, it was sort of like just a sorbet cleansing the palate. It was new and it was fresh. You know, I'm a little biased. I grew up just a big fan of monster movies, you know, big fan of the horror shows, Saturday afternoon horror movies. And, you know, it's, you know, I loved them. So just that vibe for me, I was immediately drawn in. Just the look, they really captured just how it's lensed and the palette and the feel and the acting and just the sound. And I enjoyed the shit out of it. It's Gail Garcia Bernal did a great job. I loved Harriet Sampson Harris, the one who played Verussa. It's such a great cast. And I wasn't that familiar with Laura Donnelly's work. With Laura Donnelly, right? Is that her?
Yeah.
I thought I want to see more of Laura Donnelly. She was great. I want to see her and Kristen Ritter play sisters, to tell you the truth. But that would be cool. I enjoyed the shit out of it. I like the effects. I like the whole handling of the creature. I thought Ted looked awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot of fun the way they played things. The violence was great. It was such a great way to allow themselves to play with violence in the black and white, not seeing the red blood. And I can't wait to either see another one or these characters again blending into Marvel's darker universe or whatever it's called. I know they have their supernatural.
Thinking of what they call the Universal one that didn't get off the ground?
Yeah, the dark universe.
Yeah, exactly. I want to see. I can't wait to see it with Tom Cruise. I can't wait to see that. But that's going to be great. I've just been waiting for this to come out. I enjoyed the shit out of it. Yeah, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, same here. And I feel like I agree. It feels so different, but at the same time, it's so interesting the things that feel that unify it, right? There is still that level of comedy and that quirkiness to it. I thought Gael Garcia Bernal's Jack Russell seemed like such a nice guy.
Right.
Like he just seemed so friendly. And even the way they played Man-Thing, I mean, it's Chewbacca, like archetypes, right? So it's that character that we can't understand, but they do, and it's just instantly lovable, right?
It's Groot, it's Chewbacca, yeah. it's
Grogu, it's all of that.
Yeah,
and just even the conversation about how well they get along about getting sushi. No, it's your turn. You call, like all of that. It's so fantastic, and it's just enjoyable, mixed with the more horrific elements and these over the top villainous portrayals. I loved everything about it. I thought it was just a blast, and I can't wait to see more. Plus, he does such a great job directing. It pisses me off. Wow. He's so talented. Fuck you, dude. Pick a lane, stick in it, asshole. Yeah, but I dug it immensely.
The show did so well that there have been rumors that one of the reasons that Feige seemed to pump the brakes a couple of weeks ago was might be restructuring and rethinking the Disney Plus model a little bit. And some shows that were originally planned to be multi-episodes are now going to be special feature one-off type things. So
the rumor is that they've already got next year's shot. Like there's one for Halloween that he directed as well that's already been shot. So, but later to be announced and all that stuff. And if you look at his IMDb, it says 2023 holiday special.
Oh, that's cool.
So, when you say the rumor, is it a rumor that's like Werewolf by Night 2 or just a horror Halloween?
A horror Halloween MCU special with no confirmation about what it is, but so I don't know. I'm into it. I'm into see because there's just so many amazing things they can do with these special presentations in this television series. I would love to see like
Sacha Baron Cohen doing like a Vincent Price hosting of a Halloween party as Mephisto with all his guests coming in, all crazy people coming in.
Yeah, give me a House of Mephisto or something like that.
That would be hysterical.
Keith, I want to put you on the spot real fast. Gail Garcia Bernal, better performance in this or Old?
I almost threw up instantly. But I do think somebody pointed out that Disney Plus is now dominated by the Y Tu Mama Tambien like boys. And it's absolutely true. We got Diego Luna and Gail Garcia Bernal dominating Disney Plus this week. But again, television can do so much, and fuck the movie Old. Speaking of old things, let's move on to a television show that Chad watched. I don't know if it's all the episodes, but it's Game of Thrones House of Dragons. You've watched 8 episodes. I've watched 0. Chad, how are you feeling about Game of Thrones so far?
Yeah, the season's not over yet. I think the next episode will be the last of the season. As I said before, this is Game of Thrones. It's awesome. But there is a problem that I'm having with this show is all of the promotion and the first 5 episodes was about the main girl. And they have done a time jump and recast her. And it's like 10 years later, something like that. So she was 17. Now she's 27, 30, something like that. They time jump several times. So it's hard to kind of really, Rob's getting choked over there.
We're almost there.
Exactly. So the problem is the 17-year-old was so awesome and such a badass that now I'm not as into this new actress that's playing her and some of the other actors that have jumped up. And I'm not saying that this person's a bad actor. If you reversed it, I might feel the same way if we saw the other one first and now we've switched to the younger one. So I don't know how they fix that, but maybe in the promotion, don't just promote this one because it's not like it was it's not like a lost reveal that, oh, surprise, we're jumping ahead 10 years. I mean, it was just like, you knew the time jump was coming. It wasn't anything crazy. So that's kind of just like my nitpick about it. That being said, Matt Smith has been in it from the beginning. He's killing it.
Awesome.
He is awesome in this.
I did see the first episode. That girl was my favorite character in the first episode.
She's phenomenal.
She is great. And then they, again, time jump, episode 6, different actor. It is what it is. I'm not saying she's a bad actor. She's fine, but I'm used to the other one. I really like the other one. But Matt Smith is just doing so much in this show with looks. Like, you just see everything on his face. like he's conniving, he's angry, he feels like he's being shunned, all of that you see it on his face. He is awesome.
Well, I mean, it was clearly, from as great as he was in Morpheus, not Morpheus.
Morbius.
Yep, that's
Morbius,
it. Morpheus.
Yep.
Morpheus. I loved Morpheus. That was awesome.
Yeah, we're leaving Morbin time behind. Let's talk. Let's talk about another show that just consumes people, and that is the Netflix presented Dahmer Monster Jeffrey Dahmer story, Monster Dahmer. This is produced by Ryan Murphy. I watched this. I don't think anybody else watched it yet.
First episode.
Okay, yeah. So 10 episodes. Evan Peters, Richard Jenkins, Molly Ringwald. Some awesome performances in the show. Rob, what did you think of the first episode?
Creeped me out. It was disturbing. It took me 2 sittings to watch because I put it on, I was watching it. It was so heavy and grounded and disturbing and well made that I went, nope. Yeah. I don't have the head for it. It's just, wow. It was grim. And you just saw these other characters circling the drain. It was almost too good. I was like, it was overwhelming. I got back. I just haven't gone back into it because I got to be in the right headspace for that. I just didn't want to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I totally get that. And I think, I agree with you 100%. I think it is extremely well made. I think the 6th episode is one of my favorite episodes of television I've ever watched on any show in my life. It's mostly done in sign, which is great. It's an awesome episode. The problem I have with it, and this comes from me being just really into true crime. It brings up this idea of when you're telling a quote unquote true story, what creative licenses do you have? Because within this story, Ryan Murphy is fabricating a lot of stuff that did not happen, people that did not exist in the story. In this show, there's a neighbor who knew Jeffrey Dahmer was killing people and tried to get the police involved. That's not the truth. That's not actually what happened. So, but I get from a narrative standpoint of trying to have someone you can empathize with that comes off as a hero. In this story, Richard Jenkins is almost played as a sympathetic character, but he wasn't that in real life. They skip over the sexual assaults that Jeffrey Dahmer endured. They skip over, and I get it, some of the more outlandish things that happened in real life. Jeffrey Dahmer tried to create love slaves by drilling holes into people's heads and pouring bleach into them. And that's not
like the loved ones.
Yeah. And that's really not what they do in the show. They kind of skip over that. Jeffrey Dahmer, for the vast majority of his murders, had a roommate. That's omitted from the story completely. So,
that's an awful roommate.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
But it's also even by the time they get to Jeffrey Dahmer's demise, they kind of fabricate some of the details. And to me, in my mind, make it less interesting of a story, because what happened to Jeffrey Dahmer in the end is very compelling. He's sexually assaulted. He's beaten to death. They take out the sexually assaulted thing, but then the guards of the prison are so afraid of him still after his head has been crushed in with the help in real life of the authorities, the prison guards, that they chain him to the autopsy table because they're still so afraid of him. That's completely omitted. After that, his brain is removed for autopsy and they lose his brain. We still to this day have no idea where Jeffrey Dahmer's brain is. In the movie, they tie it up. The guards weren't involved at all. The brain was cremated, all that stuff, straying from the truth. So it's weird to wonder, where does creative license come into play? And then at the same time, in the show, something that's causing a lot of uproar is that there are scenes where we're going through Dahmer's things and we see photographs of some of his victims. They use the actual photographs of the actual victims.
Eesh.
Yeah. And so they didn't inform the families about that either. And the families weren't asked. They weren't given any notification, nothing. So that sort of thing is a little, for me, and it feels at times that there's another exploitative nature. Jeffrey Dahmer is famously a homosexual serial killer. and sex was a huge driving part of his life. But he also had multiple boyfriends throughout his life, right? That they glance over that. But at times it feels like they're sexualizing Dahmer in a way that's just sort of uncomfortable. Now, granted, this is just my take from watching it. That being said, I think all of the performances are amazing, but knowing the actual story of it, having read multiple books, documentaries, even, a Lyle Dahmer's book, this strays fairly far away from some of those events. It still has the kernel of it. It's still, James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy isn't the comic book. It has the spirit of it, but it's not the actual thing. And I would say this has the spirit of the Dahmer story, but it skips over a lot. So it just leaves me sort of torn about, do we want all of our, terrifying factual stories to be actually factual, or do writers have the chance to condense parts of it, add characters to make it more narrative, and take out parts that they don't think the audience will believe, even though they really happened? I don't know. It's just an interesting view for me personally. So yeah, it's creepy. So if you want to watch some cannibalism, check that out. Also, another thing that Ryan Murphy produced that I watched is Mr. Harrigan's Phone. It's a Netflix film based on a short story by Stephen King. It stars Donald Sutherland and one of the It kids. And it's great. It's more like Hearts of Atlantis or The Green Mile with a little bit of more sinister stuff. Donald Sutherland is not long for this world, but he's amazing in this movie. So I highly recommend you check it out. If you like that Stephen King coming of age type of New England story, this is what that is. And it's the kid in it is phenomenal. That being said, Stephen King is a prolific writer, but let's talk about the return of a different type of King. Amazon Prime has Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, which all of the episodes have premiered. I haven't watched the last episode, but Chad has watched everything. I'm one behind, but I think the internet's already spoiled the big twist for me. So, Chad, how did you feel about Rings of Power?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's a little hard to talk about this one because of.
I think I know. Sauron is the Aragorn guy, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So, as far as that goes, I was thinking that at some point, maybe halfway through the series, and really what made me think of that is because in the prior episode of the podcast, when you were actually talking about this, you were talking about how I can't believe they're doing kind of a same story, Return of the King thing. And, just watching it, thinking that, I was like, oh, what if that's the twist, is that it's not the Return of the King, it's the Return of Sauron. So he's Sauron. So I'm watching it through that lens very early on from, the show. This show's epic. I love this show.
Yeah.
I think that, it was a good twist. If you didn't know it, it's played very well the way they do it, because they even try to trick you in the last episode, as far as that goes. But
cool.
There's a cool shot where he's standing there with Galadriel, and they're at like a river or something, and it's like in her mind, so it's not real, but the reflection in the river is the Sauron image that you're used to with the crown. And she's standing there. It's pretty badass.
That's awesome.
As far as that goes. The Hobbits are great. Love the Hobbits. Love the wizard. I love everybody. I feel like my favorite character, I can't remember his name, but he's Isildur's dad.
He's
That's
great.
My favorite character.
He's phenomenal. Yeah.
I love him. He's awesome. He kind of reminds me of like maybe a little older. He may not even be older, but older Bradley Cooper. He looks like Bradley Cooper a little bit. Just like a more grizzled. I love him. He has been great. That is not to say other people weren't like. I love the not Elrond's fine, but the other elf.
Yeah.
Has the love interest. Those two, I love them.
Yep.
All of that. It's done so well. I love this show. I know they've done 2 seasons back to back. I wanted to keep going because I love this world, and I think they're pulling it off.
I think so too.
Exceptionally well.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I think it's great to see all of these complex worlds. I feel that the stories aren't necessarily balanced as well as they could be. Like I sometimes I find myself wanting to hear more about the Harfoot or whatever they're called. I want more of them sometimes. The place I've left off in the 7th episode, they're going to go find the wizard that I assume is Gandalf, and track him down and all that stuff. It'd be great if it was fucking Saruman. That would be awesome. If that would be a great twist. But they're going to find him, so that's a cool little place to have it. Yeah, I just, it feels great to be back in this world. At times it gets a little too reminiscent for me of some of the stories that we've crossed before, but I think, you know, with that twist you're talking about, hopefully that will jar me out of that and it'll get us to someplace new. But yeah, I'm enjoying the shit out of it. It puts a huge smile on my face. And that brings me to the next film I want to talk about, which is a new horror film entitled Smile, with a great cast. I don't know all of the cast. Jesse T. Usher is in it, a man I worked with in the film Shaft. This is just me listing my IMDb. That's basically what we're doing today. I saw the preview for Smile, and I thought it was just going to be a generic horror movie. Chad, specifically, I'm recommending this to you. This is, like, to me, the same level as Barbarian. Like, just really good, caught me off guard. The minute this movie started, the camera was moving, like the director was trying to make you pay attention. And from the beginning, it doesn't lit up. And it was just a lot of entertainment. Like, it goes into a lot of places that a lot of typical, you know, Halloween releases will go, but it's a little bit more creepypasta and a little more psychological maybe than other films are, but excellently directed, authentically creepy the entire fucking time. It is my favorite movie I've seen of the Halloween season so far, is Smile. Just a lot of fun, so in addition to that, I think we got 2 more things. I saw another film on Netflix, The Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie, which is based off the most recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles television show, starring Ben Schwartz as Leonardo, another actor I've worked with. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Chad. It really caps off the 2-season Turtles cartoon in this big badass anime way that really brings the Turtles into the Turtles that we know and love. This story basically tells it's about the 4 turtles having to face off against the invasion of Krang, and how they do that in this new mythos in this new world. If you're a Turtles fan, check it out. It's so much fun. It's just super entertaining, and the fight sequences are fucking incredible. But that leads us to something else that I'm sure Rob is going to rant and rave about how fucking incredible it is, because he's taking his medicine so he could stay up this late. And that is the new Disney Plus release of a new Star Wars entry, and that is Andor. Now, I think there are 6 episodes out, or 7.
7's today, I think.
Yeah.
I've seen the first 6. Chad's seen the first 5. Rob has seen. Oh, you haven't seen the new episode?
No, I haven't seen it yet. Not yet.
Oh shit! I thought you'd be up at 3 o'clock watching that.
I was taking my Metamucil, and I thought I'd stay up and watch it.
You know, for the listeners at home, Rob has put on a jacket. I guess he's too cold in his house, and I don't know if he's got to leave. He's like, this podcast is taking way too long. I got to get the hell out of here.
Hey guys, this has been great. I'm going to go. I got shit to do.
He's like in his house, and he's put on his jacket.
I'm freezing.
An hour and a half into this podcast.
Let me say, too, real quick,
Atlanta.
before we get into Andor, I've been, if you're a listener of this podcast, I'm so sorry. But also, you've heard Rob plug the CBS show Elementary numerous times, right?
Yes.
So this week was working with an actor from the show Elementary, and I won't say who the actor was, you know, so he can have anonymity for this following statement. And I'm talking to him, and I'm like, hey, one of my really close friends, guy I do this podcast with, he's fucking obsessed with your show. He watches it like every single night. And this actor looks me dead in the eye and is like, I thought only old people watched our show. That's exactly what he said. And I'm like, yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's good. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway,
and Keith has not told me that yet. Usually, anytime Keith has something that hurt me, he will tell me immediately.
I'm waiting for on air.
The fact,
get your
the
live
discipline.
reaction.
I didn't think Keith was that disciplined a human being. The fact that he held on to that for this long, it's quite impressive. Thank you.
But yeah, so now we're going to be talking about the old man's favorite Star Wars show, and that is Andor. Chad, you've only seen 5 episodes. Rob and I have the leg up on you. But out of those 5, how do you feel about Cassian Andor's adventures?
I love Star Wars. I feel like this is a slog, though. It is tough to get through. I have, especially the Halloween season.
Yeah.
I'm watching Hulk, but I'm watching Lord of the Rings. I'm watching Game of Thrones, and then I'm watching all these horror movies. And I'm like, I gotta watch Andor. Blah. It's not making me want to come back to watch the next episode.
You can see Rob fuming, even though this is an audio format. Like
he's so full of shit.
Like,
He's so full of shit.
if this would be like, Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 9, I'm there for it.
Absolutely.
3 a.m, like you said.
We're not even the same fucking species. The fact that that's even that comment can be made. It's like I'm talking to Donald Trump over here about just.
Oh God!
I mean, I
Obi-Wan's
don't even
huge.
understand you.
It's
That's a great impression. Oh my God!
A lot of people say Obi-Wan's the best Jedi. I agree.
Exactly.
That's what we say. We love Obi-Wan.
I've never heard you Trump. That's pretty damn good. So Chad, the child of the group, he's so immature. He texts me, Obi-Wan is a slog.
No, he said Andor is a slog.
Andor is a slog.
I'm sorry. I was thinking in terms of my opinions.
Yeah, your own.
He wrote, Andor is a slog. And, being the elder statesman of the group, the one who handles things with aplomb is very reasonable. I thought I would not come down to his level. And I just responded, you are. And I felt better about it. and I cracked him up. Look, I've had a love-hate relationship with Star Wars. Okay, there's been about 15, 16, 17 projects. I've liked 5 of them. I liked A New Hope. I've liked Empire Strikes Back. I liked Return of the Jedi. I liked, I'm going brain dead, Rogue One. Love that. Tony Gilroy came in to fix that. I love The Mandalorian, seasons 1 and 2, specifically season 1. I loved a few episodes of a few moments of Boba Fett. Everything else has bored the living shit out of me. Everything else is slow and uncreative. And I literally, in my heart of hearts, not to battle, think Obi-Wan is the worst TV show I have ever seen every episode of, that I've sat through. It is the most ill-conceived, poorly directed, poorly written, poorly blocked.
But enough about Andor.
Nice. That it just blows the mind when something of such a quality of Andor, in its cinematography, its writing, its directing, it's so well cast. It just, the tension it creates. This last episode that Chad hasn't seen, I just found out earlier. We'll call it the heist. Was so well laid out. Just the build of the tension of it. I've heard people think it's a little slow. But I've heard Obi-Wan sucked too. So it's just a matter of what I'm trying to figure out. Just my own self-reflection. What is it about A New Hope, Empire, Return, Mandalorians 1 and 2, and Rogue One in this that I find infinitely better storytelling than the other 12, 13, 14. I don't know the number of projects there have been. And I wonder that. What?
Nihilism. That's the thing about all of those.
My favorite river.
Damn it. But all those are like the darker ones. You know what I mean? Like if something has fun, you tune out. You know, like if it's Fifth Element, you're not there for it. You don't like your sci-fi to be entertaining. You like it to be dark and grizzled, like a burnt steak.
What Looper?
It's dark. He's killing himself. Literally.
Did you not like it? Would you not like it? Was it not fun?
I loved it. It's not fun. It's dark.
You're dark.
Yes, yes, I am. I'm wearing a Michael Myers shirt.
That's my go-to. You are. You didn't think A New Hope was fun?
No.
You didn't think Return of the Jedi was fun? There were little.
First of all, you didn't have Return of the Jedi on your list.
I did. A New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi, so Mandalorian, Rogue One.
This is what I'm going to say.
The initial trilogy.
In the past, when Rob has talked about the projects that he loves for Star Wars, he has never listed Return of the Jedi.
Ever.
Today is the first day he's listed.
It's always Rogue One, New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Mandalorian, and Andor. Those are the only.
I've always liked the initial trilogy. So I mean, maybe I've just said the original trilogy and never actually said Return of the Jedi. You're wrong, both of you. Shut up.
The conversation with him at work 100 times about Return of the Jedi is when it became.
I've never worked a day in my life.
Every single
we weren't working, that's for sure.
Every single episode of this podcast, even if there's not a Star Wars thing, he opens up by going, I've had a complicated relationship with Star Wars. There's only 5 of them I like.
It's so
Consistency is key. Consistency
exactly. It's like Lord of the Rings. Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
Predictability is my power.
Star Wars.
Yes.
I've had a complicated relationship with it. That being said, Andor is awesome.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
It's awesome. It's great. Tony Gilroy has been signed on to a 200-year contract extension worth $30 trillion, and he's been made ruler of the universe, and he will control all of the Star Wars, and he will uncomplicate my relationship
with Star Wars. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah,
let me just say this real fast. I went to IMDb earlier because I was like, how many episodes of Andor are there? IMDb, when I first pulled up, lists 24 episodes. I almost threw up. I was like, are you kidding me?
God
2 seasons.
Yeah.
2 seasons.
You know, obviously it's more than one. Then I clicked on it. Yeah, it's more than one season, but I'm still like.
You thought it was a 24 episode season? You thought this was like a network show?
Daredevil's like 19 episodes.
It's 18, but yeah, very close.
You know, I was like, oh my God. I really was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this.
Oh, you'll finish it, goddammit. You're not leaving this table.
I will finish
every episode.
But
I will not finish the Munsters.
Nor should you, but we're not. I think like that says a lot that Chad was able to get through the Munsters and Andor is freaking him out. That says a lot about it.
That is.
Well, I knew at the end of the day, I would be done with the Munsters in an hour and a half.
But you could also count it for your 31 for 31. Like that's getting me through 31. A lot of movies.
That's helping me too. But Andor, it's going to take a full day to watch 24 hours.
Yeah.
24
I just need Andor to like have a fucking ghost in it or something so I could count it for my Halloween viewing. No, like it's good.
Oh, maybe it'll have a Force ghost and you guys will be all excited. That'd be great.
It's fine. Like there are some episodes. I think the 5th episode was like my least favorite. I think I talked to Rob about it. Or excuse me. I think I tried to talk to Rob about it. And then Rob was like, it's better than that Obi-Wan bullshit. And like I didn't even bring it up. I didn't even bring up Obi-Wan.
Stop testing my tough relationship with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Chad, I think you'll dig episode 6. And if not, well, good talking to you, man. It's been nice knowing you.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
I'll check it out. You know, I love any show that I have to watch 5 hours before it gets good.
I think the first 3 episodes were great. I think they
weren't.
Did you? I liked the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, I like them.
Oh my gosh.
I like my favorite part of the whole thing is Stellan Skarsgård. I think it's the 3rd episode where they're going back to the planet and he's like rehearsing and trying to figure that out. Like that's phenomenal. And I think he's great. I want to see more of him.
Listen, so I was watching the 5th episode earlier, and it was coming up with the opening logo of Andor.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. It took like 45 seconds for it to come up, and I thought, Jesus Christ, even the logo is slow as can be.
No
Can't
wonder
you just
this
hit
was.
that skip. Can't you just hit the skip the opening thing?
That's why this doesn't have a long time ago, because it's catching you up on all that fucking long time that you missed.
You hit skip the logo and it skips like the Star Wars stuff where it's like whoop, 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 and it shows the Star Wars, but it doesn't skip saying Andor, which takes I'm like, let me just get this episode over with.
Yeah. But we'll be here next time with some more episodes of Star Wars Andor that Rob will
can't wait.
I'll rave about.
Yeah. There is one more show I want to talk about that I saw the first 2 episodes of, and it's kind of fucking insane if you're not watching it. It's another Netflix series called The Watcher, starring Mia Farrow, Naomi Watts, Bobby Cannavale.
Cannavale,
yeah, and Richard Kind, and
did you say Mia Farrow is in it?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
And
I didn't know that either.
Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore is like one of the main characters. And
Chris, what's his name? Chris
something.
McDonald. Yeah, Chris McDonald. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a true story about a family that moves into a house, Naomi Watson, Bobby Cannavale, with 2 kids. And it's this gorgeous mansion, I want to say in Westview, New York. And they start getting terrorized, and you're trying to figure out what's happening. And everybody else I listed is like a crazy neighbor or a cop. And it's a fucking insane show. I'm only 2 episodes in, and it's just bonkers. So I can't recommend it enough. It's only 7 episodes in total, so it's definitely going to count on my 31 for 31, but check that out.
Is it fun? It's fun though. It's fun, or is it?
It's fun, but it's also unsettling the entire time. So it's like trying to figure out what the mystery is, that sort of thing.
Cool.
But yeah, good time. And then, the opposite of that, not such a good time. We do have 2 passings to discuss. Both legends from the UK. The first one is a Scottish actor, Robbie Coltrane, best known as Hagrid, passed away at the age of 72.
Young, goddamn, 72. Shit.
So Robbie Coltrane, everyone has been speaking fondly of him, from his Harry Potter co-stars to Pierce Brosnan released a statement, all these different people. An amazing body of work, and by all records, just a very amicable person. And then the second one, of course, is the queen of television, film, and stage. Angela Lansbury has passed away, famous for her performances in Sweeney Todd, Beauty and the Beast, Murder, She Wrote, a show that I'm on the 3rd season of now. Really excited about watching the rest of it. Just leaves behind such an immense body of work. One of her first films is from 1947, I believe, Gaslight, where we get the term gaslighting from. So to say she had an indelible mark on the history of not only cinema, but also stage, so many characters that she originated on the stage, her impact on television, on film, on animation, there wasn't a form of media that she didn't touch. She even, and this is not even a joke, had a masturbation video to teach women about self-help and like health for themselves. Like, she was, by all accounts, just a charitable person that was interested in a plethora of things, and it was acting up until a week before her death, was still performing on stage. So the insanity of that, I think she was 96 maybe when she passed away. So just a phenomenal, huge crater of a career that she implanted upon the face of art. So our thoughts are going out to both of those people and their families and all of that.
Did you hear the quote or see the quote that Robbie Coltrane did? It was from that, I think, Return to Hogwarts special or something like that. It's been making the rounds, of course, now that he's passed away. But the gist of it was he was talking about Hagrid and the mark that it's left on people. And he said, my grandchildren's children will watch this and they'll see Hagrid. I'll be long gone, but Hagrid will still be here.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty cool quote.
Yeah.
It's, you can say that about a lot of actors. I mean, their stuff will live on.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, like I said, it's sad, whenever it happens, of course.
Keith, your grandchildren's children will see you try to rape that kid on The Walking Dead.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll be long gone. But
I'm glad you finished it with On The Walking Dead. I'm glad you finished that.
but that rapist, that pedophile rapist will live on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Great. Well, we've never had a better place to end this show. Perhaps for good. Chad, where can the people find you?
That's awesome. They can find me on Twitter, Chad129X, and they can find the podcast on Twitter, NQC Podcast.
Fantastic. And Rob, where can the people find you?
On Twitter, I think it's at Robert Proligo or Rob Proligo. I'm not even sure.
It's not Andor Superfan 21.
It is hashtag hate Obi-Wan Kenobi. You can find me just stalking that or on Facebook. And I have, I'm around.
And
come to the Artisan Resource Center and come say hi.
Yeah. Aren't you signing at a convention? Is that Thursday, like tomorrow or next week?
Tomorrow I will sign at it's not quite a convention, but thanks for wrapping it up. I found out
the podcast is not going to be out by
this
tomorrow.
This is a lot like when you and Minorovich didn't get into like the main Walking Dead convention, but so I find out that I get a call real fast. I get a call a couple weeks ago from so Ian Somerhalder was like the main character on Vampire Diaries, right? And he was Damon. And his family got involved with the show on the promotions of it and charitable work, and they were always very nice to me. And I got a call from Dina Somerhalder that, hey, we're thinking about putting something together in Covington over the next couple of weeks. Would you like to be a partner? I was like, absolutely. If I'm free, count me in on anything. Assuming we're getting. I'm never really comfortable doing that, but if like the big people, if the name actors from the show are there, I don't mind trickling in the background. Hey, it's fine, blah, blah, blah. Because then at least people show up. They're not just disappointed because it's just me. So I assumed there'd be all these people there. So I didn't hear from them. And then they checked in and I called them back. Like, yeah, hey, it's been crazy, blah, blah, blah. People have been sick. We're trying to put together something for next Thursday. I was like, oh, it's weird. One day. But yeah, she said, so maybe, come on out and we'll do it at one of the other places there. I was like, okay, sure. Sounds great. I can't wait to see everybody. And she got quiet. And then after I committed to it, I realized, I love this. The main group has already planned a convention for the weekend. And they were a little upset that, because it's expensive. So a lot of the fans can't afford it. So they got me planted in a store on Thursday, sitting by myself. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing tomorrow, but I had already committed to it. So, yeah, it's a convention.
At a 7-Eleven, huh?
Yeah.
Yes. So I'll be sitting in a store. I don't know what store. On the square in Covington. And I was told when it's over, they're going to take me to the Mystic Grill for dinner.
That's good.
Listen, Keith, the postscript to this story is that no one called Rob. He never talked to anybody about it. He's just showing up at a random store being like,
with a bunch of pictures, just signing by himself.
I was told to be here at 5 o'clock.
Rob, please dress like that when you go there. He's just the appetizer for the actual convention.
Yeah, but I'm going to be here for the convention. I'm a little early. I'm camping out. So think of me fondly tomorrow as I'm circling the drain of celebrity at a store in fucking Covington, which I think you're right. I'm not mocking Covington. I love Covington. It's great. This is me being self-deprecating and telling the truth. To what bullshit
degree of stardom here.
Yes, exactly. I should have put air quotes up.
See, kids, this is what it's like to be a working actor. You work at 7-Eleven. You work at like.
This is gold. No way, y'all.
I'm working the third shift of acting. Thank you very much. I got the overnight shift. So thank you for plugging the convention in Covington tomorrow. Come on out and get your headshots.
Come on out, because the way that Rob actually releases these, it'll be 2 days later.
Yeah,
we've already signed or not signed anything by the time you hear this anyway.
Yeah, send in your questions next time about what actually happened.
Yeah, that's the next episode. We'll have a recap of the craziest moments, and we'll do our Halloween 31 for 31. We'll talk about some Andor. We'll talk about Black Adam. A lot of different stuff to talk about. Yeah. And
I'll have photos of me sitting alone in a store with nobody.
So excited.
Coming in.
I can put them up on the YouTube channel. It'll be great.
Be awesome.
Yeah, I'll put them on the Twitter page. Just send me some pictures.
Just me by myself going, huh?
Are you taking your dad with you at least?
I thought about it, but
Yeah, you gotta have an entourage.
I don't want it. That would be just sad.
Make your dad carry all the stuff so it makes it seem like you're the asshole. Like you're the best.
Put them down. They're not organized.
I told you to put the banner up.
The fuck do I pay you for?
I'm not giving
Where
you
is
my
everybody?
fries from the Mystic Grill.
Don't make eye contact with me.
You gotta call him Dad too. Don't make eye contact with me,
Like me,
Dad.
Dad. Maybe I'll take him. Shit. What the hell? That'd be kind of funny. Thank you very much.
Well, on that note, bye everybody.
Peace.
Not Quite Cool is a podcast recorded in Atlanta, Georgia, in conjunction with Actors Teaching Actors and Bean Dip Productions. Thanks.